Hey everyone, this is Justin Bacido from Common Ground, and tonight we're going to be going live for a little bit with DeWitt Fleming Jr. and talking about both Zoom audio and tap mics and tap amplification. So thank you all for stopping in, and I will also be putting this on IGTV afterwards. So if you know anyone who is having lots of questions about Zoom audio or tap mics, please send them to the IGTV video. DeWitt will be joining us in a second. So this is a new thing that we're trying here at Common Ground. It's called Community Forum, and it's a chance for us to talk to different people in the tap industry who have an expertise in a topic regarding something to do with tap dancing. So I'm really excited to have DeWitt here. And also, just so you know, DeWitt Fleming Jr. is also teaching this coming Tuesday, and it will be the last of our 4 series in January. And all those classes are still available to purchase the post-class recording. So I hope that you will take advantage of that while it's still here and join DeWitt on Tuesday to also take some class from him. During the live, if you do have any questions, I'm going to keep the comments on, and you are welcome to type in any questions that you have about anything that DeWitt is talking about. He's also going to be talking about his product called DeWitt Right Mics, and these mics are used for teaching, for performance. A whole bunch of different tap dancers use these mics. In fact, I just saw Jared Grimes on a special through City Center about the upcoming Tap Dance Kid Encore series production, and he was using the mics. So they're all around, and it's going to be a really interesting conversation. For those of you who are like really new to teaching on Zoom, which at this point I don't know if there really are many people, but just a few things to always remember about when you are teaching and trying to teach tap on Zoom. You really always need to make sure that you suppress your background noise to low through your audio settings. And something that I've been noticing lately is Zoom has so many updates. And every time you do an update, it seems that your settings always get set back to the original settings. So just be aware of that. It's something that has been coming up for our teachers, and just like trying to remind people to do that. So DeWitt should be on here any second. And if you are new to Common Ground and this is your first experience on one of our forums or any of our IG lives, Common Ground is a online tap community of classes and teachers and dancers, and we created it back in 2019. My co-creator Jermaine Salzberg started it with me. So welcome. It's jumping on right now. So give us a second while he comes on in, and we will get started. Hey, man.
Hey.
How you doing?
Boom. Yay.
There you are.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good, man.
Yeah.
Just living day to day.
I am like kind of in this really I just had like a really visceral experience. I watched One Night in Miami on Amazon
Wow, I
Prime.
gotta see that.
Oh my gosh. I actually had read the play when it opened in LA years ago, and Regina King directs this film version of it, and it's unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah, you're gonna really enjoy it. So
Okay,
so I'm like reeling from that right now, but I'm really excited that you're here, and you're going to talk about all that that we mentioned. So
yeah.
So I guess the first thing that just to kind of kick us into this, you have a very specific setup for when you're teaching on Zoom. So I guess why don't we start with that process, and then we can talk more about your actual tap mics and performance in those and all that stuff.
Right. Okay, cool. So let's talk about that. Jenny, do me a favor. Can you turn that off for me? So I'm going to go through what I use. Now, keep in mind, this isn't, this isn't gospel. This isn't like what you have to do, because everybody's situation is different and everybody's financial situation is different. So just keep that in mind. But this is what I do, and I've always had success using it this way. I mean, the major issue I always hear people talk about is one sound source overpowering the other sound source, and just being able to, for everything to be nice and balanced, right? So, I just went to, when I did it, I was like, okay, what do I do, or what do they do in live performance or in the studio? And everything is usually run through a board. So I said, how can I kind of, condense that? And so this, I'm telling you right here, this, what I'm about to show you, is worth every $100 that you're going to spend on it. Trust me. And this right here is a small PA system. It's custom with a K. Okay? And what this is a little PA speaker, right? It's about maybe 1.5 feet tall, maybe half a foot wide. Very portable. It has a handle on the side, so you can take it wherever you need to go. I've used this thing everywhere. I've used it in live performances at home, and it's just really great. I've used it as a monitor. We can talk about that later.
Yeah, and if anyone has ever taken class or done anything at Ripley Greer, I think they have these in most of those rooms, very similar.
Yeah.
So if you've ever experienced, using a studio there at Ripley Greer, you know how loud these things can get.
Yeah.
They got good power.
It's great, because usually it's honestly in the past you can never find a $100 speaker that's going to sound good, have the sound quality that you want, sound loud, but then also have this functionality of it, which you got the 3 different channels. You just don't. It's hard to find that in a $100 package. I've never found it before. It's always something that really is bad about it. So anyway, so this is what I got, and this is step 1 for me. And the reason why this is step 1 is because in order for you to have a nice balanced sound, everything has to be coming from the same output. So a lot of times, we forget, if we're talking on this level and then we're tap dancing way down here on this level, and then the music might be somewhere in here, that's a lot of different things going on, So if we can get it all to come from one source, then we can better focus that sound. So that's what I do. So I have this cord. It's for my music. So I plug that in. And then this one is the transmitter. No, this is the receiver for my taps. And this is the receiver for my vocal. And I have it, labeled just so I can remember. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I got you.
I have it labeled at the top, just for mine. So what I'll do is I'll play everything for you so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. And this is just step 1, and this is just me balancing, again, all of my sounds. So what I'll do, and I'll tell you more about the transmitters and receivers later. This is something that you can actually get from my website. And it's pretty cheap.
Yeah, yes, and worth it. And I think we'll all see that.
Yeah. So I like to use the headset. When I'm teaching, I might use a lav that's under here, but I invested in a mic that's a really nice mic, so it can pick up, no matter what. So let's see if this thing is on. Test. Turn this around. Okay, on. There we go, and we are live. Cool. So I got my voice going, right? Again, this is only step 1.
Right.
So I got my voice going. I'll turn this up so you guys can hear. Boom, boom, boom. Yes, got the voice going. Now, check in. These will be on my feet normally. Of course, these are DeWitt Right Tap Mics. All right. Turn that on. And then So got that going. Then last but not least, let's get this sound going, right? Let's turn this down so we don't blast each other out. Also, I'm gonna walk through that later about, So we got the sound going, and then I got the mic going. So now I got my taps down here, the mic, and I can talk at the same time. And then, so the music's a little too loud. So I might go down a little bit on the music. Okay, that's good. Oh, maybe I want more on the taps, so let's turn the taps up some. Okay, good. And then you do that till you get a nice balanced level, right?
So basically, without having an actual soundboard, this speaker also acts as a way to equalize
a mixer, right?
A mixer, exactly. So everything is going through that one system, and you're able to pump one thing up if you need to, and bring one thing down if you need to.
Turn all this off. Yeah, and I'm about to show you exactly how that works. So basically, I can turn it off later. All right, we'll just turn these down. So basically, again, you got 3 different channels, right? And in those 3 different channels, you plug in your sound, right? Whatever you're using as your music, you plug in your voice and your taps, okay? Now, what I like to do, or not what I like to do, but what you should do whenever you turn on anything, if you got it plugged, first of all, plug in whatever you're going to plug in while it's off, right? So first of all, turn it off. Speaker, always turn it off. Always make sure that the main volume is all the way down. I even go as far as to say, make sure all the vowels are down.
Right.
Because you don't want any popping, or you don't want to mess up your speaker or kill your ears or anything like that. You know, I've had people plug stuff in, and all the volumes were up, and they didn't realize it. The knobs were up, and they blew the speaker. Because you got a lot of, electricity and everything comes. So anyway, first thing, turn everything down, right? And then I always tell people, your master volume, you kind of want to keep that around like 12 o'clock. Turn it up to 12 o'clock, because normally 9 times out of 10, you don't need it louder than that. A lot of people, what they do is they crank that master volume up, and then, again, you blow your speaker. So you want to keep that around 12, just so you don't damage your speaker. Then your individual knob that you have on each channel, that's where you can start to play and see what you need to be louder and what needs to be lower. You can crank those up, because that's not in danger of blowing the speaker, right? So then I do that. What's great about this also, with a lot of other PA speakers don't have, is you got your highs and your lows, which is really nice to have. Because a lot of times there'll be just your volume, that's it. Right. So now you can control those trebles, those high tones and those low tones. And that can help when it comes to getting out feedback and stuff like that. You might be in an area that's like very pingy. It has like, let's say it has a lot of glass or marble floors, or, something like that, where those high tones are really going to be bouncing around. You might get some feedback, or just might be pingy or hard to the ear. Then you can turn that back here, right? So, again, $100, this thing,
worth it.
It's worth it. It's totally worth it.
And what's the brand one more time to it?
This is Custom, K-U. It's like spelled like custom with a K, K-U-S-T-O-M. Yeah. And awesome. This could be found at Guitar Center, Musician's Friend, all that stuff. You can find it online or go into the store and pick them up. Yeah. So this is like $100. The different transmitters and receivers. These on my site, I think they're like $120 or something like that. And with that, you get like that microphone I was wearing. You get 2 other microphones that come with it. You get all of the accessories, like so you can plug it directly into your phone, or you can plug it into a camera. You get all that stuff. You get a stand, a whole bunch of stuff.
Which is helpful because a lot of people are not just using computers when they're teaching on Zoom. A lot of people have got to use their phone, and that was a big issue for me. It was like, well, what plugs into an iPhone that is compatible, but your package basically has everything you'll need to make that work.
Yeah, it has everything in it. You can plug directly into your phone. I mean, that was kind of why I gravitated towards it, because I was, you know, for years I didn't sell the transmitter and receiver with it because it was just, I wanted so much in it. I didn't want anything. You know, there's a lot of reasons, but I found something that was affordable, and that was the main thing. Something I can package with it that didn't cost a lot of money.
Right.
I wanted something that worked, that didn't cost a lot of money, and that people felt comfortable with, you know, getting, and that way they can just buy it. Okay, now I can just go. I don't have to go get anything else. So, I mean, that's why I put that together, and it's been working great for me. Next, so that's step one.
That's right. That's just part one.
Don't worry, there's only 2 steps. There's only 2 steps. Step one is a lot. Step two, and this is depending on what you're recording into. Is it your phone, your iPad, or your computer? What I like to use is a microphone like this, which is a USB microphone. It's called a Yeti, right? But any microphone will work as long as it plugs into your iPad, your iPhone, you know, and there's all types of gadgets and things. They have little microphones that have the lightning cable that you can plug into your iPhone. This is a USB, so it takes USB-C. So what I have to do is I put this adapter on my iPad.
Gotcha.
And that way I can plug in, you know, USB. And so why do I use this microphone when everything's coming from here? I want to make sure that I'm getting one source into whatever I'm recording. So you got one source coming out of here, which is great because you mix the sounds, everything sounds balanced. But now I want one source going into whatever I'm recording.
Right. And
that's the important part. And the reason why that's important is because your phone and your iPad and computer, normally they have microphones that pick up the whole area. They're not really focusing on what you wanted to focus on. Right. And that's why Zoom created that original
suppressed background noise.
Yeah, the depressed background noise, original sound, and all that stuff. But that's software. So sometimes that stuff gets funky. It gets funky and stuff starts to mess up and get a little crazy. So it's gonna do a pretty good job most of the time. But again, Zoom was not made for performance. Zoom was made for meetings. And so they're not trying to, you know, the software wasn't made to pick up, you know, to say, oh, pick up taps and singing and the music, so it's not necessarily that sophisticated. So a lot of times you're going to have issues. That's where this comes into play, right? And so the great thing about the Yeti, what I love about the Yeti is that you have these different settings, right? So you have omnidirectional, unidirectional, and all those different things. And so what that is it takes this microphone, and if I put it on unidirectional, that means it's coming from whatever's coming straight on, right?
Gotcha.
And then if I do omnidirectional, of course, that means it's all around, right? And then they have the unilateral, I think it's called, where it's like an interview type where it comes from the front and just the back. So that's why I like this one, because it's not too expensive. It's like $200 or something like that. But I use it for a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. So this, plug into my whatever I'm recording with, and then I put this in front of the speaker. So that way, it's only picking up whatever's coming out of the speaker. It's not picking up my baby crying in the background. It's not picking up the dog barking or the neighbors arguing. You know,
right?
It's picking up whatever's coming out of the speaker, and that's it. And so that way, you don't really have to worry about trying to toggle all these sound things inside of Zoom to make sure that it's picking you up, and then, okay, turn it back off. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, original sound. Oh, now it's not working. Oh, you know, so this kind of eliminates that because it's taking your sound and saying, okay, everything that's going into Zoom is coming from this source right here, and this is pointing right at this speaker. So.
Right. But as you said, I mean, you really can use any microphone, because I remember when I called you and I was telling you some of my issues, I told you that I have a Scarlett Solo
Yeah.
audio interface. And you know, for anyone who does music production, you know what that little thing is. And if you have just a regular microphone, and even if you have XLR cable, you can plug that in, and then that little thing plugs into your computer, and you can use that as the input. So, you know, even if you have like one of those, you know, just old school wired handheld microphones, you can literally set that up to the custom speaker, and it will just feed it right into your computer as long as you have all the hookups for that.
Yeah. And then that takes me to my next point. Say you don't have all this, you know, and say you like, look, man, I got a couple $100. How can I make
Which we probably, most of us, that's what we're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say get one of these, okay? And you just have to make sure you get an adapter so that you can plug this into whatever your recording device is. And what I like about the Blue is, again, that feature where you can toggle where you want the sound to be coming from. So you can take this and you can just kind of set it down, or you can either do it on a table in front of you, or if you want to put it more at your feet and kind of angle it up so it gets a little bit of your voice. You know, there's things you can do to kind of maneuver it to make sure you're getting the sound you want. But again, the important thing is that you're having your sound come from one source, and you can control that source. Right. You can't control the sounds in your room all the time. Right. But if you have a microphone, you can control where that sound is going, and you can point that microphone to the sound that you want it to pick up.
And what's good is that it's actually hardwired, whereas I think I had mentioned I was using Bluetooth headphones, and the issue there is that you're hearing my voice primarily.
Right.
It's picking up the other stuff, but then it's also Bluetooth, so you're just adding that extra. It's got to go from there to there without any plugs. So when I always think, you know, if you can be hardwired, that's like your best bet, because you know it's going straight in, and there's not going to be any delay, any more delay, right? Because there already is. But yeah, so I think so that's kind of like the poor man's version, so to speak, right?
And that's still not poor. I mean, that's still a couple $100.
Right.
Mean, that's something.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
You know, but I would say with Bluetooth, keep them. Okay, I always look at what the professionals are doing, and that's kind of where I take my mark. I can't do what they do because I don't have the budgets they have, but at least I can see and kind of get the theory of what's happening and how they do things. And with the Bluetooth, I think people have to understand that Bluetooth is a consumer technology. So what does that mean? That means that technology isn't for, it wasn't meant to be for recording sound or trying to teach a class or do a performance. That technology was something that was convenient for consumers to kind of talk to people and transfer sound from one place to another, you know, kind of in a setting that's not necessarily professional or something that is a performance. And for that reason, they didn't make it. Bluetooth is not a secure kind of way to do things, because you got latency issues, one, and latency just means the time that it takes for the signal to get from where it's coming to where it's going.
Right.
So you have that issue, and then, you know, you just have a bunch of issues where anything can happen pretty much, but it wasn't meant to be necessarily perfect. It was just something to say, hey, I can have my phone over here and have my speaker over there. That's cool.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I would say, as much as you can, stay away from Bluetooth.
Cool.
Yeah.
Will you talk now? Will you tell us a little bit more about your product, your microphones, and how they are utilized? I was saying before you came on, I was watching that great video of Dule Hill and Jared during the choreography for the upcoming Tap Dance Kid, which I'm like a little boy about. I'm just like with that team and Kenny, and oh my gosh. But you know, Jared was using them to help Dule hear better what he was learning, and then of course there is the whole other form of using it in actual performance.
Yeah. So DeWitt Right Tap Mics. Honestly, the whole reason I came up, you know, with the idea of having these mics was simply because I was just tired of going to performances and just, not being happy with my performance and feeling like my performance was in the hands of somebody else. The success of my performance was completely out of my control. And that was just something that was just, it bugged me for years. And I was like, I need a way where I can feel comfortable with my performance, knowing that if my performance was bad, it's all on my shoulders. It's not because somebody couldn't hear me or because I was dancing so hard to try to get people to hear me that I wasn't even listening to the music. I wasn't even, into what I wanted to originally do, because I got on the stage and I panicked because nobody could hear me. So I'm out there just like, ah.
Right. Yeah. And then you're out of it. And once you're
Yeah.
out of it, it's so hard to get back in it.
Oh man, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, I was like, okay, I've had these mics before, but the problem was they were so expensive. And you had to go through a sound company to make them for you. There wasn't something that was on the market. It was like you had to know a sound company that builds mics. You had to pay for 2 separate mics and get them to make you this. So you're paying for 2 separate mics and you're paying for the labor.
Right.
So I did that a couple times, and I won't even go into that whole story. But anyway, so that's why I came up with this. And then the second thing I wanted to do was just make it affordable, because I was like, we're performers, we're dancers. Like, we can't always afford to drop $500 to $1,000 on microphones,
And
so,
and lavaliers are in that range. Just
right,
I mean, literally
exactly.
to purchase one lav, it's in that range. And
right.
You're also talking about putting it on an area of your body that is not here or here, which
Right.
Is safer, I think, than having it be all the way down there where there's
Absolutely.
feet flying and
Yeah.
all that. So it's amazing that you've been able to sort of price this out and get it into this this price range, because I just know from being a producer of musicals like labs are the most expensive part of your budget sometimes.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
They're so expensive and they're so delicate.
Right.
And that was the second issue. I mean, I was on shows and we're going through mics like it's nothing, man. And I'm just like, I step on the mic, I'm like, ooh, everybody else they don't care. They're like, oh, whatever, I broke a mic. But because I purchased it and I like I know how much it costs, I would just be like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So,
please don't take it out of my salary.
Right,
Please don't take it out of
right.
my salary.
And so when I was working with, my buddy who, engineered these and everything, our major thing was really making it durable too. Because it's one thing to have something inexpensive to where you can afford it, but it's another thing to have that thing actually last and make sure it stands up to what you're doing. Because lavaliers aren't made for tap dancing. This, no company is saying, hey, well, except for me. No company is making lavaliers for tap dancing. It's for singing. It's for, instruments, but it's not for tap dancing. And so with that, over the years, we, figured out how to not only make it durable, but also tweak the sound in it too. Tweak the mics so that we got a nice balanced sound too. Because, the human voice and tap is very, is very different. Those sound frequencies and what we're putting out is not the same. And so, we have a full range microphone, which which is great. And so you can get that balance of those really highs that you want, but also those super good bassy lows.
Right. Well, what's really cool is that it translates to so many different kinds of tap performances, because, if you're on stage with a big band and that sound is just so overpowering.
Yeah.
But then if you're on stage with, if you're doing a musical and, you're playing the lead and you have the ensemble,
Right.
they may have floor mics, but then you've got these on so they can really bump you up when it needs to be, or you have a solo and you want to make sure that is so fine tuned.
Yes.
And now you're able to control, whereas I feel like all the time it's just like it is the bane of our existence, I think, as tap.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and the thing is, everybody's happy. Like when I show up to my gigs with these mics, I can't tell you the amount of times sound engineers were just smiling and saying, man, I wish all tap dancers had these. And because it makes their job so much easier.
Right.
And that was another thing. Whenever you walk into a situation, you always feel like you're being a burden or somebody don't want to deal with you, because that's something else that they have to worry about. See, when you get into a space and you got a sound engineer and they're trying, again, like I said, it's about controlling the sound that you have and making sure it's coming out the way you want it to be heard. So if you're a sound engineer and you got a full band, you got a singer, and then a tap dancer comes in, that's another element that they have to put into this whole big puzzle, right? And so when you have like those PZMs, shotgun mics, the problem with that is, again, the sound around you, like we were talking about before, right? The mic is going to pick up what you're pointing at, where you're pointing, or it's going to pick up everything like kind of in that 180-degree range. And so the problem with that is, you might go to a performance, they got PZMs on the floor, they got shotgun mics. You're like, oh, it's good, I'm going to be great. And then you go out there and like, why I can't hear? Well, because you got a 5-piece band behind you, you got sax blowing, you got the kick drum right behind you. That mic is picking up all of that, right? And so when you have something, you bring these to your gig, the sound engineer is like, wow, okay. I don't have to worry about phasing all these mics and trying to prevent feedback because he's right in front of the drummer. And then when he goes to stage left, we got the whole horn section, and I got to bring it down over there, you know. And so when you have these, they are so happy because they can dial you in and really isolate what you're doing, and it makes their job 10 times easier. They don't have to run any cables. They don't got to phase anything. You just hand them your stuff. They plug you in, done. And it's just like they are so thankful, and it makes for a better, performance. You feel good. They feel good. They feel better about tweaking you and kind of, fine tuning because they can, so I think it's huge if you can get it. And then I remember, who said this to me? It was, man, I can't remember who told me this, but they got the mics from me and they hit me up about 2 months later and they were like, thank you. And I was like, wow. They were like, man, I did the performance and I was able to do things that I always wanted to do, but I could never do. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And they were like, well, because there's certain nuances that sometimes you aren't allowed to do, not allowed, but you don't feel like you can do because you're not going to be heard, And he was like, I was able to really bring down a lot of stuff and play and do things that I normally wouldn't do because it came out so clear and everybody could hear it. And so it felt so good to be able to not kill myself through a whole number, but to be able to have these levels in my dance, where I'm not fighting and I can just kind of relax.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, I feel like, and I know your hat is part of your branding and your merchandise. I feel like it's such a overall, comment on tap. Is it that it does feel like the tap dancers are always like the last thing that everyone is thinking about, and so. That is our art. That's how we express ourselves, is with sound. So if we're not heard, we're not going to feel confident. We're not going to feel, and you are actually not only giving tap dancers an opportunity to, as that person said, do things that they maybe would not do because they knew they needed to pound the floor that night because it was, they weren't going to be heard. But you're also giving them this new confidence because they know that they will be heard.
Oh, man.
And that changes your performance.
It does.
And the whole package.
Oh, man, it's great. It's great, I mean, that feeling I had when I first put on, a pair of, mics, it was just, you can't describe it, man. You walk on stage and you just go, bop, and you go, oh. It's like, I can hear.
Oh, man, I always have that moment in my mind from tap where Gregory has the shoes and they got the pickup, they described it as pickups under the sound and he gets on that floor and you're just like,
That's it.
Oh, it's such a wonderful moment because you hear everything, and it's not just because I always say that, you know, the beautiful thing about the art form is that you can close your eyes and still be entertained.
Yeah, absolutely.
As long as you can hear
it. But it's just what I realize is just educating people about our art and what we do. Because as soon as they hear dance, especially if they're a sound engineer or they're sound, most of the time they're like, oh, dance. Oh, not my department. Right. I don't got to worry about it. It's dance, you know?
Yes.
So it's just, you know, educating them more, like tap dance, you know, is different. Yes, it's dance, but it's also audio and, you know, just reminding them. Because once you remind them, they're like, oh, yeah. Well, duh, what was I thinking? But as soon as you say dance, they're just not even thinking. They say dance. Oh, cool. All right. This even happened at the Joyce. This happened at the Joyce before.
Wow.
When people showed up, you know, and they were like, oh, dance. Oh, you're tap, right? Oh, shoot! And they're scrambling trying to figure out the mic situation.
Well, it's that awful moment when you walk into a theater and, you know, maybe it's a dance concert or one of these showcases and there's a Marley floor, you know, and you're like, no, you know. But when you walk in and you've got this you know, this product, and also too, like you said, for an engineer, it's as simple as plugging in those transmitters into their board, and then they've got complete control and yeah, and you could do a sound check. Wow, what a concept, absolutely. Right? Yeah. You know, like it's really amazing what you've done. DeWitt. Oh, it really is, and I know that it took a lot to get it, number one, to the price that you got it to, and to the quality, because I know that you know, you compromise, and I know that you did everything to make sure that these things last a long time, because you know, you use them, you know how much you know, they go through hell, you know, they go through hell sometimes, you know. Yeah, they go through hell, you know, and it was a lot of back and forth, you know, because things happen, you know, because at first, you know, it was all about the capsule that was around the microphone. It's like, it's got to be strong. Somebody step on it. But then what I wasn't thinking about was the connection to the microphone, the connection to the connector that goes into, you know, it usually screws in, right? Yeah. Right. So I wasn't thinking about. So we had to go back. Okay, all right. How can we make this stronger? We got to reinforce this, because dancers aren't necessarily used to handling microphones, especially not, you know, lavaliers. Right. And so the first thing we do, we're yanking it up, we're going like this, wrapping it around, and the sound engineer is going, oh, right. So I was, so, you know, we talked about, okay, how can we make this stronger so that, you know, they can do that a few times to get away with it, you know, and because hopefully somebody will see him and say, hey, don't just yank. Like I remember I was setting somebody up with some mics, and the mics were taped to their shoes and everything. They got off stage and they just started. I said, whoa. I was like, the mics are still taped to your shoes. And they were just like, yeah, but, you know, I'm just yanking. Why would you just do that? You can't just yank. But, you know, they didn't know. You know, and it's understandable. Well, like you said, you're educating dancers, and you're basically trying to make everybody's life easier is really what you're trying to do. And then there's more of a collaboration too. You're not fighting each other immediately. Right. You're like coming to it. You're like, well, I brought this for you, so you better make this sound good. Yeah, absolutely. Right? Absolutely. You know, it's like everybody has a job. Let's make everyone's job as easy as possible. Yeah, I mean, I use these mics to record our album, and I was surprised. I was going to say they probably really perform well in the recording studio. You know, imagine them being really crystal clear. Yeah, you know, yeah, it was great, because I was nervous because an actual studio microphone, there's like that's hard to compete with. Like, those microphones cost thousands of dollars, and I mean, they have such precision in them. I mean, it's amazing. Right. So I was nervous using my microphones, because I was like,
I don't want to be upset, listening back and I didn't get the greatest sound, because I could have got a better sound. And I listened back and I was like, wow, I was really impressed. And if you listen to the album, you hear it. It was just like, I was impressed because I knew they were full range microphones. But when you record stuff, it's different. You hear every little thing, so it's a little
Right.
different.
Right.
And then also, it's the fact that the engineer and the mixers have to have a good enough full sound enough to be able to mix and play with things. So a lot of times, if you get an unbalanced sound, they can only get with it from the mic gave them, because the mic might not give them that full range. And so I was like, well, they full range, so they should be fine. And sure enough, it really turned out amazing. And so I was super happy and proud.
And well, for anyone who's on right now, if you want to pop on, and if you have any questions about what you've heard so far about the Zoom audio or about the DeWitt Right mics, we have just a little bit of time left. I'm going to, as we end here, I'm going to let you all know that I put a link in our bio on Common Ground on the Instagram to a video of you do it, just kind of breaking everything down that we did today. But obviously, like, you like really took the time to, like, show everybody, and people can really see it all in action, which I think is really nice. So if you want to check that out, please do that. And if you're interested in these microphones, like, now is the time to do it, because I feel like, we are going to be in this virtual world for a bit. And I know one thing that we, that's tough for Common Ground is, you guys are teaching from your homes, and I can't come to your home and set up the same setup that I have here. So, it's just, I think it's going to be one of those things where the quality is so important when it comes to tap, and the sound is so important that I just think it's worth it. And even if you can't afford everything that you showed us today, DeWitt, your mics are gonna, last forever, and they're gonna do so many things for tap dancers. So
thank you, man.
Yeah, man.
And send me a message. If people have questions, or they want to go a route that's not as expensive, I'm always open to help you out. Send me a message, and we'll coordinate, and I'll help you make sure you get your sound, to what it is that you need it to be with your budget. Because that's always the thing. Trust me, I know, I get it. And what you said was important about, the quality, because we're competing at a different level now.
Yeah.
Like, we're competing with TV, we're competing with, social media and all this other stuff. That's, we're not right there physically with people. So we're, it's a different level of competition now. It's like, oh, shoot. So I can't be on the level as TV or movies. Like, that's, I don't have that budget.
Right.
But how can I at least make them feel more like I'm there with them?
Yeah.
And not like they're struggling to be where I am. Like, how do I make sure I bring whatever it is I'm doing closer to them? And a big part of that is not only the visual, but the audio.
Awesome.
So, once you have that audio set up and you have everything right, it really brings people in. Because when I don't care how, smart people are, when you start watching a screen, you're expecting a certain type of quality.
Yep.
And that's because that's what you're used to from watching TV, watching, computer, or whatever it is. So we got to try to come, a little bit to that level, just to, make sure that we're keeping people's attention and giving them the information, because that's what they want. So let's keep them involved.
Well, listen, everybody has an opportunity to see it in action on Tuesday. You're teaching for Common Ground on Tuesday at 11 a.m. And what's great is, as many of you know, we do post-class recordings. So if you can't be there on Tuesday, you'll have a really nice product if you want to pick up your class, do it afterwards.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be really awesome. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on tonight and doing.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this was so helpful, and I love that you gave like a bunch of different options for people, and I encourage people to reach out to you because
Yeah, please.
I did, and it was one of the best things I ever did. And you're someone actually wrote in and said something to the effect of, "You're just the class act, man. You're like."
Oh, wow.
You're just like the
Oh.
top notch. So, and
thanks.
multi-talented, and you were just in Dance Magazine, and
Oh, yeah.
and you do so many things, and I know you are you're just you're a real artist. So we really appreciate you coming on and giving us some time. So.
Oh, thank you. Well, I appreciate you and everything you guys are doing, you and Jermaine with Common Ground. You know, it's important, and you know, I'm glad that you guys are here and providing a platform to people and providing a safe space for people to learn and dance. And I think it's important.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Well, I'm going to let you go, and
right.
I'll see you on Tuesday.
Yeah, I'll see you Tuesday.
All right. Thanks so much, DeWitt.
All right.
See ya.
Right, man.
Thank you, everybody, for joining in. I appreciate it. I hope that you learned something from DeWitt today. I know I always do whenever I talk to him. And we will be doing a new forum on February 1st with Karita Griffith. And we're going to be talking about hot topics in dance. And that is a wide range of things. And I'm really excited to have her on. We will be posting something always in our stories before the forum to give you a chance, our audience a chance to ask questions before I even go live with people, so I can have those questions on hand and use them during the forum. And again, I hope that you'll take DeWitt's class on Tuesday. And we've got some really awesome classes coming up in February. We're bringing back our To the Score Of series, and we're going to, it's going to be a really good time. So thank you all again, and I hope you have a great evening. Thanks for supporting Common Ground. Bye-bye.